morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be taking a look at Lost March. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I told you that we had some new Lost March Pokemon. I told you that it might be back. Yeah, it definitely looks like it might be back at this stage. Now, quick heads up, and I've said this in so many videos. Yes, at the moment, Japan are playing a slightly different format to us, but I am only showing you decks which will work in our format, and I'll always make sure to talk about the cards we're losing and the changes you need to make to cover for them. I'll do that in this very video, although we're really not losing very much at all here. There will be the odd occasions when I show you a deck which only works in Expanded, but I'll tell you that, and I'll make sure to tell you why I think is going to be such a good deck in Expanded. So, let's have a gander, shall we? Now, obviously, a Lost March deck still revolves around Jumpluff. Jumpluff is still our number one boy in this particular deck, and probably should be. Jumpluff has the Lost March attack for just a single grass energy, and the Lost March attack is 20 damage for each of your non-Prism Star Pokemon in the Lost Zone. And the reason why Jumpluff is so gosh darn good is because we've got Skiploom, and Skiploom is your stage 1, and when you evolve into Skiploom, you may put Skiploom and Hoppip underneath it in the Lost Zone, search your deck for Jumpluff, and grab it back out again. Yeah, that sounds pretty gosh darn good. And that is your main Lost March, and we're playing a 4-4 line here, but of course Trumbeak is also pretty gosh darned important. Trumbeak has an ability that says once during your turn, if it's in your hand, you may reveal it, look at the top card of your opponent's deck. If it's a supporter, you put it in the Lost Zone. Either way, you put this Pokemon into the Lost Zone. Trumbeak goes in the Lost Zone. And because it's a stage 1, you can't start with it, and that's pretty brilliant. And we do play a couple of Natu here, who has Lost March for 2 colorless energy as a basic. So what's new about the deck? And what's new about the deck largely is Cottony. Cool. And what's great about Cottony is it is another Pokemon that is a basic that has Lost March for 2 colorless energy. Well, that's pretty fabulous. Now, this brings me to, as far as I'm concerned, the only relevant card you're losing from the entire deck. As in the only relevant card Japan has that we don't. Okay, they're playing a single Nest Ball, you'll be fine. And Guzma, everyone lost Guzma, it's not a big deal. And we got plenty of, seriously, plenty of Pokemon draw. We'll get there in a minute. But you're losing double colorless energy. Should we be worried? No. Honestly, I don't think you should. Because what we have here is we have Whimsicott. Now, this particular list I'm showing you today doesn't play Whimsicott, but if you play it with Whimsicott, you can just swap the double colorless for triple acceleration energy. Now, it's a stage 1, not a basic, which is slightly awkward, but most of the time, Jumpluff is going to be your main Lost Marcher anyway. You only need a couple of other Lost Marches here, so just add in 1 or 2 Whimsicott, swap your double colorless for triple acceleration, and this deck works perfectly. Double colorless is the only relevant card you're losing in this deck. Swap it for triple acceleration energy, add a Whimsicott or 2, you'll be absolutely fine. Oh look, we just fixed it. Cool. Now, in terms of other Pokemon here, it gets a little interesting. Obviously, we're playing Mew to protect your bench because you have incredibly weak Pokemon. You don't want them sitting on the bench, that would be a bad thing. And the other new one we're playing here is Oricorio GX. Now, I adore Oricorio GX for the ability. The ability says that if one of your Pokemon was KO'd last turn, draw 3 cards. Now, it doesn't stack, it's only a one-time per turn kind of deal, but you draw 3 cards. And you're playing a single-prize deck where single-prize Pokemon are going to be knocked out fairly regularly. So, this gives you extra draw power. That's phenomenal. And the other Pokemon we play here is for Emolga. Why do we play for Emolga? You put one on the bench, and that allows you to search out your other Emolga, which you can then just drop straight into the Lost Zone using Lost Blender. Lost Blender, you put 2 cards in your hand in the Lost Zone and then draw a card. Well, this can be Pokemon, but it can also be an Emolga that you searched out with your existing Emolga. Emolga lets you get Emolga in your hand to put in the Lost Zone using Lost Blender. That is pretty gosh darn phenomenal. It's not a completely new trick. I've seen it before, but it's still a very, very nice trick. Plus, it also happens to be a free retreater, which means if you do start with it, it's not going to slow you down with your Lost Marching, which is pretty gosh darned important. And that's it. That's your Pokemon line. Yes, you've got all your Lost Marchers, and then you've got Trumbeak, Emolga, Mew, and Oricorio. Works fairly nicely. Now, as we move into the trainer cards here, our main goal is just getting set up. You need to get Pokemon in the Lost Zone, which largely involves getting them in your hand, especially with Trumbeak and with Skiploom, and then getting a single energy. So Pokemon search is our priority here. And yes, I know that Ultra Ball has rotated out, and yes, I know that Nest Ball has rotated out. I don't care. This deck plays one Nest Ball. We got a bunch of options for Pokemon search. Chief among them, we've got Professor Round's Lecture. Professor Round's Lecture lets you search your deck for 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less and put them into your hand. Well, that includes the entire Jumpluff line, including Skiploom. It includes Emolga. It includes Mew. Now, it doesn't include Trumbeak, which is a little bit upsetting. And it doesn't include Oricorio. But that's it, right? Other than that, you're golden. So this searches out your Pokemon beautifully, even your evolutions. Then, oh yeah, you're using a basic grass Pokemon. Hey, Netball, which hasn't rotated out, and will search your Hoppip, and will search your basic grass, which is important for attacking using Jumpluff. So that's kind of nice. And as if that's not enough, we play Pokemon Communication. And Pokemon Communication is way better in this deck than it is in your average deck for 2 reasons. Firstly, you're playing a lot of Professor Round's Lecture. Secondly, Emolga. You see, Emolga's quite nice for searching out Emolga for Lost Blender, but it's also quite nice for searching out Emolga to Communication it away and grab a Pokemon you really want. Or you can use your Professor Round's Lecture to search for, like, a Natu and just swap it for something else you like instead. And between Professor Round's Lecture, Netball, Emolga, and Pokemon Communication, okay, there are plenty of decks that are really struggling to search out their Pokemon in 2019. This is not one of those decks. Like, at all. Now, in terms of other cards, it's fairly straightforward. I've already mentioned Lost Blender. Puts Pokemon in the Lost Zone, pretty important. We're going to need a draw supporter to get cards generally. That is our Cynthia. And we're playing 3 copies of Pokegear 3.0 so that we can grab our supporters, which of course is also pretty important because we need that Professor Round's Lecture pretty gosh darned early. And our stadium of choice here is Chaos Vortex. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Means that if your opponent plays a stadium, it gets discarded before anything happens. It's a great counter stadium. Incidentally, this deck does play a couple copies of Guzma, but you can swap them straight out for Great Catcher, which will be coming out in the same set, Cosmic Eclipse, so don't worry about it. I don't think this deck really loses much, if anything, coming over into our format. The only thing it loses is the ability to use Cottony and Natu for a double colorless, which is slightly annoying, but you can just use Whimsicott and Triple Acceleration Energy. This is a fast, consistent deck that now hits for multiple different weaknesses, as in it now hits Fairy as well, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's certainly a deck I'm going to be testing when Cosmic Eclipse comes out. I am quite the fan. But I'd like to know how you feel about it, so let me know in the comments section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.